Hey guys, Sylvan Drake here, bringing you a Borderlands 1 Lilith build video. I know I don't upload too frequently because I'm over on Twitch normally streaming Borderlands or Destiny. So if you guys want to check out the live streams, you can over at twitch.tv/slopingdrake. But let's go ahead and get into this build. This is the build that I personally have been using. I've been using this solo Borderlands 1 level 69 endgame build. This is just what I'm personally using, and I'm loving it a lot. I am using, as my main SMG, the Double Anarchy. As Lilith, you want your proficiency to be 50 for SMGs, because that's mainly what you're going to be using. I've been leveling up my proficiency in pistols, because I use down here a Pestilent Defiler for, armored enemies, but mainly SMGs are going to be what you're going to be using for your main DPS. Double Anarchy is just, it's so strong, it's too good not to pass up. This is going to be your main gun you're going to use for damage. I have a double savior here. I use the savior just for the ammo regen. I stack it on top of my class comm that has ammo regen as well, and it gives me a bunch of ammo regen when I'm running between enemies or when I'm between areas. It gives me a bunch of ammo regen because it does stack, and it gives me a ton of it. For my next gun, I use the Hellfire. I use this for flush targets. Burns right through them. It's really good. It doesn't burn through as much ammo as the Double Anarchy, so if you are just running through a bunch of bandits or flush targets, then the Hellfire is going to be your go-to choice. But for like your all-rounder, the Double Anarchy is definitely going to be your SMG of choice. And as I said, I'm using a Pestilent Defiler. This is for armored targets. It's also just a really strong pistol in general. It's really good against the Crimson Lancers. It's good against the enemies in the Claptrap DLC. It's good against any armored target at all. I'm using an impenetrable shield. It has this one, at least. I just haven't found a better shield so far at level 69. It has 2700 shield and a 258 recharge rate, and it has a overcharge capacity, so it can get pretty high up there. For your grenades, you use transfusion grenades just for healing. Grenades in Borderlands 1 aren't nearly as good as they are in Borderlands 2. Same with rocket launchers. So transfusion grenades are just super strong for healing, because you can throw, when you're like absolute like 10 HP, you can throw like 2 to 3 transfusion grenades out and you'll be good to go. It'll heal you right up. For my class comm, I use a mercenary class mod. This one in particular has 40% SMG damage, 3 Quicksilver skill points, 4 high velocity skill points, 3 girl power skill points, and 18 ammo regen. I also have another one with 60% SMG, 3 Quicksilver, 3 high velocity, and 4 girl power skill points. This one would be more so if I am looking to burst down a boss. I like this one more just because it has 20% increased damage, but it does not have that SMG ammo regeneration. So when you're running around mobbing and stuff, this one is the one I tend to use just because I haven't found one at 60% SMG damage with ammo regen yet. And that's for the gears, the gear, the weapons and items and stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the skill tree. Lilith's ability is Phase Walk. Phase Walk lets you turn invisible and move super fast. It also makes it so you do not take any damage at all while you're in Phase Walk, and you can end it by pressing the action skill button again or meleeing an enemy. For the artifacts, you can use Explosive, Incinerary, Shocking, or Corrosive, just like any other skill. But I use the Corrosive one just for the damage over time. Corrosive seems to be a good all-rounder because, armored targets are weak to it, but it's good on flesh targets, unlike Incinerary, which wouldn't be good against armored targets. So I use the Corrosive one. For our controller skill tree, we'll go ahead and go left to right. We use Diva. We put 5 points into that because it gives you a 25% shield capacity increase. Super good. It's just going to give her a little bit of tankiness. Inner Glow, while in Phase Walk, you regenerate 7% of your health per second. This is your max health per second. With any other comms, you can get like Defender comm, like that. It'll increase this, which will give you more, 10 to 12, maybe 15% of your health increase, healing per second. It's really strong. This is just such a good skill. It gives Lilith a lot of survivability. Hard to get. Max it out. It gives you 16-second reduction on your Phase Walk. Your Phase Walk normally is 36 seconds. This makes this a 20-second cooldown, cutting the cooldown timer almost in half. Girl Power, super strong kill skill right here. As you saw on our class mod, it gives us 3 into it, or if you can find one with 60% +4 and even ammo regen, I'll give you +4 into it, which will give you close to 15-ish% shield regen per second. When you kill an enemy, you'll start to regen your shields, and as long as you keep killing enemies, that regen will stay up, and it's so strong. It's so good. Mind games, you only need 1 point. You're using SMGs, you're going to be spraying bullets, so that gives you a 5% chance when you shoot a bullet to daze the enemy. It's going to make them shoot slower, have less accuracy, move slower. It's going to stun them a little bit. It's just really good. It's such a good skill, but you do not need to put more than 1 point since you are using SMGs. Here in the elemental tree, we use Quicksilver, which gives you a 25% increase to fire rate. With our class mods, it gives us a little bit more. Resilience gives you a 30% damage reduction from fire, shock, corrosive, and explosive damage. So it just gives Lilith a little bit of tankiness. You can go into Spark for a 20% elemental effect chance if you so wish, but I personally like Resilience because it gives Lilith a little bit of tankiness. Intuition, it gives Lilith on kill 50% movement speed and 20% team experience. The experience is absolutely useless to you. It's 100% the movement speed because the rate damage from Radiance and Venom they're not there. They're not that good. You can go into Radiance if you want. If you're going for like just a super elemental build if you want, but if you're going for like a good endgame build, movement speed is just going to help her with mobbing, killing enemies, and just moving around, you know, in between a bunch of enemies. Phoenix, this skill in my personal opinion is I'd say the second best skill that Lilith has. When you kill an enemy, it gives you a AoE around you that deals fire damage and can light them on fire. But what makes this skill really good is you have a 25% chance when you shoot a bullet to not consume the bullet when you shoot it, to save the ammo. It's a lot like one of Salvador's skills from Borderlands 2. He has a chance, depending on his health and shields remaining, he has a chance when he shoots to consume no bullets when shooting the shot, and this just gives Lilith a bunch of DPS because you have these 50 to 80 mag SMGs, and with Phoenix active, you can just unload for so much longer than you normally would be able to. Slayer over into the Assassin tree gives you a 25% critical hit damage, just increasing your damage. Silent Resolve. This is my personal favorite skill of Lilith. This is a skill I think is the best skill that Lilith has in her whole toolkit. It gives you a 70% damage reduction when you exit phase walk. This gives you so much survivability, and with Blackout, as I'll talk about in a second, it gives you so much survivability because you can constantly have your phase walk up due to Blackout, and so you're constantly going to be having that 70% damage reduction on top of this 30% elemental resistance. Enforcer, it's going to give you 35% accuracy and 10% bullet damage when you kill an enemy. It's just, that damage is really good. It's just going to give you that little bit of bonus damage. The accuracy is nice on top. Hit and run, 35% melee damage, absolutely useless to us. But the 4-second phase walk duration is what we're looking for here. It lets you stay in phase walk longer, to get inner glow, to proc longer, to heal more, and give Lilith the ability to heal up super fast and just be able to stay in battle. High velocity, 100% bullet velocity, super nice. You don't have to lead targets because Borderlands 1 does have projectiles. It's not a hit scan game, and 20% bullet damage. Can't really complain about that. Blackout, this you only put 2 points into because at the end of the day, after you hit 69, you play through the Moxie DLC, play through the Claptrap DLC on playthrough 1 and playthrough 2 to get those 4 bonus skill points. You're going to put one into Blackout and finishing off some other skills like Mind Games, just put 1 in there, and then Blackout and finishing off a skill to 5. You only need it at 2 points because 2.4 seconds, 2.5 seconds reduced off of your cooldown for phase walk when you kill an enemy. So like I was saying earlier with Hard to Get, you get that 16 seconds knocked off, making it a 20-second cooldown ability, and then you have Blackout on top of that. You kill 5 to 6 enemies, and within that time of moving around and killing those enemies, you're going to have your phase walk up again. And so you're going to constantly have it up to get yourself out of bad situations, maneuver around, heal yourself, get that damage reduction from Silent Resolve, and it's just going to give Lilith a lot of survivability and a lot of just movement within fights. Talk about a couple of the other skills that we don't go into. Striking, absolutely useless because it's just gonna daze on melee, and then phase blast can daze for dramatic entrance whenever you exit or enter. It's just not needed. Spark, like I said, you can opt into it if you want for instead of resilience, and radiance, like I said, you can opt to it and if you want instead of intuition. But I personally am not a fan of them. Hellfire already has a super high elemental proc chance, so you don't really need spark. Venom adds corrosive damage to your melee attack and it gives you melee damage, but it's not worth it in my opinion. Phase Strike is a controversial skill for me because a lot of people really like it, but I personally don't. And I understand why people like it, because when you max out, it gives you 800% melee damage when you melee an enemy while in your phase walk, and that's a lot of damage. But I personally think those 5 points would be better spent elsewhere via high velocity, enforcer, hit and run, you know, because a lot of skill points do go into the assassin tree, but not phase strike. And I just think that their points better well spent. But if you want to go into phase strike instead of hit and run, for example, go for it. Or instead of enforcer, you don't think that accuracy and 10% bullet damage is worth it, and you want phase strike instead, go for it by all means. But I personally am not the biggest fan of it. So that's going to wrap it up for the weapons and gear and skill part of the video. I'm going to roll some footage of the Call of Duty, I think that's what it's called, the round 5, the sergeant round. It's the round based just enemy horde mode of the General Knox DLC, and it's just going to give you a good idea of how the build plays out. There was a couple times I did go down a couple close calls, but it does give you an idea of how the build plays and the survivability that Lilith can have, and how strong of a solo character she can be. If you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know if you guys are interested in more build videos. Like I said, I do stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/slopingdrake. I'm always playing Destiny and Borderlands, and I'm really interested in doing some more Borderlands builds, leveling up some characters, and doing Breck and Mordecai and Roland, and possibly doing build videos for Borderlands 2 and or the pre-sequel if you guys want, before Borderlands 3 comes out. Leave a comment below, like I said, for some suggestions, and if you're hyped for Borderlands 3, leave a comment below letting me know, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.